Well folks, 2017 comes to a close and the gaming industry sure does have a lot to show for it this year. This was perhaps the best year for gaming we've had in a while, and of course, no gaming channel worth their salt is going to miss out on the opportunity to do a Game of the Year 2017 list. Luckily, this channel is worth exactly 0 salts, so I'm going to go ahead and forego the route BS and talk about one game that really gave me hope for solid gaming experiences again: Hollow Knight. Sure, I've finished a playthrough on my channel that is releasing new episodes twice a week, and I've also done a super spoilerific top 10 bosses list, but some people want to experience a game for themselves. What I'd like to do here today is provide a basically spoiler-free look at this masterpiece of a game in the hopes that I can convince even one person to give it a try. So, welcome to my top 5 areas of Hollow Knight. I'll be avoiding any story and boss spoilers on this list, so unless you really want to play blind, you'll be fine here. Of course, if you do, then I shouldn't need to tell you to buy this game. For those of you still on the fence though, I hope that this peek into Hallownest's beautiful and eerie landscapes will convince you to give Hollow Knight a shot. For those of you who have played the game and are wondering what is in the running, I'll be using the semi-arbitrary distinction of whether or not an area is shown on the full map. Like this. Anyways, let's talk Hollow Knight. Starting off the list at number 5 is the Deep Nest. This is, well, to be honest, it's the worst area in the game. Well, if it's the worst, how is it number 5? Are there only 5 areas? Hollow Knight sounds shitty, is what you would be saying right now if you didn't have taste. I have faith in you though, so I'm going to assume those words did not just come out of your mouth. Deep Nest is, technically, the worst area of the game. It's long, dark, dangerous, filled with mazes and pits of spikes, cheap-shot enemies around every corner, and no music other than the deafening roar of enormous bugs burrowing through walls lined with corpses. I know that may sound like your mother's house at Thanksgiving, but it is actually Deep Nest. Not a good time, but Deep Nest pulls one thing off, and that's the best at being the worst. This area generally gets explored in the latter half of the game, so the awful dangerous feelings this place exudes are perfect for a gauntlet of horrors. This ain't Grandma's Hallownest no more, no sir. The tense and oppressive atmosphere that Deep Nest frankly drips with may be unpleasant, and let me tell you, those bugs crawling across my screen in the foreground are not helping, but that's what the area is trying to be, and it does it perfectly. Without a single jump scare, this place will make you anxious, uncomfortable, and sick to the pit of your stomach. Not to mention, a good number of players will end up falling into this region completely on accident, and will have to fight and climb their way out of the hellhole if they want any chance of surviving early in the game. Talk about an entrance. I don't play many scary games, but I can say this for certain. Deep Nest will cater to your primal fears better than the 50th FNAF sequel ever could. Here at number 4, we've got the Crossroads. The Forgotten Crossroads will be the first real area you explore when jumping into Hollow Knight, and as such, it's a pretty basic area to get one acquainted with the game's mechanics. It is by no means forgettable, however. Much like any great hub, the Forgotten Crossroads is home to several important destinations you'll visit multiple times throughout your journey, including Salubra's shop and the Grubfather's den. It also connects to practically every area on the upper side of the map, which means you'll keep coming back to find new secrets throughout your journey, making the Crossroads feel like a comfort zone that you can always rely on. Team Cherry ain't like that though. What could have simply been a good starting area will take a huge turn after completing one of several flags in the storyline, and let me be the first to tell you that the infected Crossroads will not be nearly as kind. With almost every enemy in the area morphing into a more dangerous and disgusting version of themselves, and many previous pathways being blocked off, you'll be forced to relearn the starting area of the game a second time. While I won't get into it here, the Crossroads transformation also hints to a major part of the storyline and adds a sense of urgency to your quest that would have been absent otherwise. While I would have loved for some of the other areas to get infected as well, the punch that the infected Crossroads packs upon discovery is a huge upheaval of the player's comfort zone, and it works super well. Likely the first big bug and minor fight you'll discover in the game will have you on your toes, and seeing that same behemoth's corpse under the effects of the infection is huge. The Crossroads may act as a great starting area, but seeing the area become a zombie of itself provides a driving force forward, as well as a way to look back and see how far you've come. Coming in at number 3 is Crystal Peak. First off, if I may direct your attention to the music currently playing, the Crystal Peaks soundtrack is stellar. Love this song. Frankly, it could have made it onto the list for the music alone, but sick atmosphere isn't the only thing Crystal Peak has going for it. Besides adding a ton of new mechanics in the way of conveyor belts, lasers, and slammy things, this level is beyond gorgeous. Exploring this area just feels so crazy good. There's also Mila, who is an amazing NPC that you should definitely talk to really frequently throughout the game. She's technically located in the Crossroads, but let's be real, she's part of the Crystal Peak story arc. This area has a ton of grubs, which means a ton of exploring, and the platforming here is top notch. Some of the best in the game, if we're being honest. The peak also has the benefit of being teased very early on. As I mentioned with Mila, a portion of this area will be available to explore extremely early in the story, and maybe it's just me, but I was so excited to explore this area when I got the required abilities. Crystal Peak really does live up to the hype too. It's such a unique and beautiful area that blends nature and technology together fantastically, another trope I absolutely love. While there really isn't much else I can say about Crystal Peak without getting into spoiler territory, the point that I'm really just trying to get across is that exploring this area is frankly magical, and it's one of my favorite moments in the game. Number 2 is upon us, and with it, what an upset, the Hive! Depending on whether or not you've seen my personal playthrough of Hollow Knight, you'll either be impressed this area got into the top 5, or surprised that it wasn't at number 1. Either way, this one was probably an unexpected pick. I absolutely love this area. Frankly, it's my favorite area in the game, but I've made that abundantly clear over in my gameplay videos. But I just couldn't make it number 1. As cool as the Hive is, it just isn't big and deep enough for me to give it top billing without feeling like I've shortchanged the rest of Hallownest. But it's still number 2, and there's good reason for that, at least as far as I'm concerned. With the exception of the Hive's length, I consider this to be a perfect area, perhaps just because of how unique it is. This small offshoot of Kingdom's Edge is so vibrant and relaxing compared to the rest of the game. Where everywhere else you'll be looking at gloomy and dark but still gorgeous backdrops, the Hive's walls are lined in yellow honeycombs and dripping with sweet orange honey. It's just so unique compared to every other locale, and the low-key ambiance might not be a musical masterpiece like the Crystal Peak track, but it works. I mean, talking about areas in video games you'd sleep in, this right here. I literally listen to this track sometimes when I want to go to sleep. It's very relaxing. The enemy variety here isn't huge either, but I love the designs. The Hivelings and the Hive Guardians are both cute AF, and the Hive Soldiers might be my favorite enemy design overall. Just like Sour Patch Kids, first they're sweet, then they're holy shit, did that thing just turn itself inside out into a giant stinger, oh my god. It might not be a good enough reason for me to consider the area the second best in the game, but I love this place. While the Hive certainly could have used a boss, getting Hive Blood here is still nice, and equipping it makes all the enemies passive, making it really chill. The Hive is just so colorful and unique in this game world, and I love it for giving me a short, fun offshoot adventure that got me away from the gloom and doom that is the rest of Hallownest. And before we get to number 1, I'd really quickly like to make an honorable mention. If the list was a top 6 instead of a top 5, I still wouldn't have put Ancient Basin on it. But I do have to give it props regardless. While the area might be small, linear, and rather boring, the lore implications this area provides are essential to Hallownest's history. Not only is this area likely the player's first real look at the infection in the vessels, the Ancient Basin provides both the Palace Grounds and the Abyss. Both these sub-areas are extremely important for the lore, with the Abyss being an especially freaky and amazing glimpse at the truth behind this game's story. Unfortunately, the area is just far too linear for it to be interesting without the lore implications, so it did not make the list. On to number 1. Finally, the moment you've all been waiting for. The number 1 area in Hollow Knight is the City of Tears. Honestly, looking back, you expected this, didn't you? If you didn't, you've gotta feel pretty dumb right now, huh? This was a clear choice for the number 1 spot. Not even my personal bias for my B-buddies could win out over the sheer, gut-wrenching, tear-jerking aura this ever-wet metropolis has. Both the music and the visuals here just straight up burrow into your heart and make you feel some real shit. 2 songs in video games have ever brought me to tears. Moon Song from Cave Story, and this. As the rain hits the windows with a satisfying patter and I splash through the streets, it became clear to me that there are few worlds and games that have this flavor. Tinged with discovery, danger, and sadness, the City of Tears is an absolute treat. Not to mention, this area is huge. The difference between the abandoned storeroom's genuinely spooky soul sanctum and the regal Watcher Spire make each trek through the city feel like a distinct journey. While technically part of the Resting Grounds map, the Blue Lake also contributes to the City of Tears' tone. Honestly, while the Crossroads may be the hub for Hollow Knight as a game, it's clear that the City of Tears is the hub of Hallownest. Located at the heart of the kingdom, this city contains some of the best and most important stories Hallownest has to offer. This is movie material, folks. Please, give me more City of Tears. It's the perfect area, and I really can't say much else about it except that you have to experience it for yourself to feel the full impact of what this city, Hallownest, and Hollow Knight as a whole have to offer. This is a wholesome experience, through and through. Well, that's all I've got, folks. Of course, this video is entirely based on my personal opinions, and Hollow Knight is filled with amazing moments at every corner. Feel free to let me know what your favorites were down in the comments, and if I hadn't made it clear enough by now, this game gets my recommendation. While I'd love to review this game, I think that between this video, my playthrough, and my top 10 bosses video, which can be found here and here, I have adequately demonstrated my love for this game. Hollow Knight gets a perfect 10 out of 10 from me, and gets not only my Game of the Year stamp of approval, but has topped my list of favorite games of all time. I'll be honest, I never thought I could love a game more than I love Cave Story, but Hollow Knight did it. Please go out and buy this game, and treat yourself while supporting Team Cherry. This game was a labor of love by a team of 3, and their dedication shows. Whether you get it on Steam or are waiting for the 2018 Switch port, don't let 2017's massive list of hits make you pass this one by. Please.